All right, well, welcome back. We are into the eighth episode, if you will, eighth chapter of the book Change Your World by John Maxwell and Rob Hoskins that I've been working my way through now, well, the eighth week of that. And we are talking about this book because of the impact it had on me and I guess we'll call it life changing. We're about to see. Hopefully, it'll end up changing a lot of lives. Project that I've been wanting to do, and that this book kind of was assigned to me to say you need to do this, and I've been working my way through it slowly but surely, trying to get some things off the ground and get them started. It's going to take a while, but in 2 weeks, not next week, but the following week, you'll hear about what I'm trying to do, and you can play a part in it as well. And you'll see how when we get to those episodes. And I say those episodes, and here's why. I encourage you to check out the Great Quotes for Coaches podcast. That's my podcast that I've been doing every week for a couple of years now, maybe 3 years now. And we just had our largest number of downloads ever for last week. I'm not going to necessarily say not last week's episode, but I think last week's episode kickstarted it, because then people must be going back and listening to a lot of other episodes, because we're seeing just really good numbers on the podcast. Over the last month, we've had our largest month ever. And so if you have not checked out the Great Quotes for Coaches podcast, you really should, because there I go into even more detail than I do here on a lot of the things, especially on the quotes. But in the things that I'll be talking about today from this chapter 8, I go into more detail on than I can get into right here. I think, at least, because the podcast episodes are longer than these videos. So, all right. So that's a little bit of a plug for the podcast, but I highly recommend you check it out. Also, let your friends know. Let your friends know about both the podcast and these videos, as well as my blog post. Let's get them on our newsletter. Get them signed up on my email list so they can get these every week, and we can help them keep growing. So this week's chapter is called "Let's Keep Talking." One of my favorite things to do. And so I love this chapter because there are so many really important messages that Maxwell and others contribute to this chapter. So let's dive into it. They said first, we are today where our conversations brought us. The concept that when we talk with others, we learn and we experience. We will be tomorrow where our conversations take us. Gosh, I like that. And then he talked about a guy named Larry Stockstill, who leads one of the organizations that John Maxwell worked with. And I love what Larry Stockstill said. John started to ask him a question if he would help out with, and as he was in the middle of asking the question, this Larry Stockstill said, "John, the answer is yes. Count me in. Whatever this means, I am a yes." It's like, whoa, that's a guy who is really committed to something, whatever it might be. Well, John asked him later on. He said, why did you jump in so boldly this way? You didn't even hear exactly what I was going to ask you. And here's the message. I love this. I live on the other side of yes. Boy, I sure don't do that as much as I should. There's some things where, yes, I jump right in and I'm a yes. But all too often I've lived on the other side of no. In fact, I think it was a positive in my life in some ways that my parents kind of instilled in me the concept that just because I asked for it, I'm not going to get it. And so no was the first thing that was the default. And that became my default with my players, with my students, with my own children. My first response in my mind, not always out of my mouth, but was going to be no, because they need to hear no. And I think it's important that kids hear the word no and then have it mean something, okay? Because we have to set boundaries. We have to hold them accountable for things. We have to make sure they're not understand. You don't just get it just because you ask for it, all right? There has to be some reward. There has to be some earning, some responsibility. Totally understand that. But I love, and I think maybe I needed to hear this because it reminds me that I have softened in terms of this as I've gotten older. And I don't like the word softened, but I have changed my attitude a little bit about this and been much more prone to yes. Okay. But again, my first default has been no. But listen to what Larry Stockstill said. I live on the other side of yes. That's where I find abundance and opportunity. For ourselves, I think this is a great idea. It's where I become a better and bigger self. The opportunity of a lifetime must be seized within the lifetime of the opportunity. Oh, that's a great quote. So I try to say yes whenever I can. The opportunity of a lifetime. Do you know when that's happening to you? We don't always know it, but it may be there. We must seize it within the lifetime of the opportunity. Let's face it, whatever that opportunity is, sometimes there's a small window for you to jump into it. If you're going to do so, you have to do so during the lifetime of the opportunity, or the opportunity will be gone. Oh, what a great concept. And so then Maxwell went through a series of living on the other side of yes means, okay, because he loved that concept himself so much. So here's what he said. Living on the other side of yes means believing in possibilities. When you live on the other side of yes, you believe there's always an answer. Yes, that's true. In fact, you feel certain there's not just one answer. You believe there are many good answers. That makes you willing to do the work to find them. And it also fires you up to be a part of them. Oh, that's so good. Living on the other side of yes means having hope. People who live on the other side of yes find hope in every situation. They believe every person is not only worth helping, but actually can be helped. And they bring that hope to the people who need it. Those who have lost hope become discouraged and don't see a positive way forward. Living on the other side of yes is life-giving. How many of you do this with your kids? I'm talking about your players now, your students now, or those of you who aren't coaches, teachers, but you lead a team of adults. How many do this with the people on your team? How many do this with your own children? Where you offer hope, where they sometimes feel there is none. That's such an important element in our lives, that we have hope that this can get better, that we can improve. I've had seasons where it's been tough. And I have to be a hope giver to my teams to help them see this can change. We can get out of it. We're going to have to work. We can't just hope that it happens. You're going to have to do things. But I have to constantly be providing the hope that it will change. Living on the other side of yes means speaking positively. Another one. I mean, if you do this with your kids or with your teams. When you live on the other side of yes, you think and speak positively. You stop asking, can we? And you start asking, how can we? So the idea is it can be done. We just have to figure out how it can be done. Making a difference isn't a matter of if, it's a matter of how and when. That's it. Okay, I love that. Changing your world. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of how and when. You use positive words to inspire positive action in others. You empower others with the power of hope. You use your communication as a catalyst to transform communities. Living on the other side of yes. Gosh, I love that idea. I hope you do too, and I hope you use that in your life. Let's jump ahead to some other things. He talked about transformation conversations throughout the rest of the chapter. From his book, 17 Indisputable Laws of Teamwork, he said, interaction fuels action. That's really good. Without communication, positive change just doesn't happen. So then he has, as I say, this concept of transformation conversations. And so he says transformation conversations, and then a statement. And he does that multiple times, so you'll hear those. Transformation conversations start with reality. Peter Drucker, in his book, Managing Turbulent Times, said, a time of turbulence is a dangerous time, but its greatest danger is the temptation to deny reality. You have to look at what's really happening. While others, now this is Maxwell, while others ignore problems or complain about them, people who work to change their world face up to them and do something. And I love this. Change begins with you and me when we take action. So it can't just be hoping, we have to take action. Doesn't mean there won't be challenges. Okay, everything worthwhile is uphill, but you have to take action and you have to work to continue to be positive. Transformation conversations generate better ideas and solutions. I like that. Dialogues are always better than monologues, he says. And polylogues are even better, multiple people involved in it. Transformation conversations offer hope, going back to the concept we talked about earlier. Okay, that's the defining characteristic of a transformation conversation, they say. Without hope, people won't work toward transformation. And I like this. He talks about low hope people, high hope people. Okay, low hope people focus on symptoms, avoid, feed fear, get tired, drop out, give up. High hope people focus on solutions, engage, feed faith, get inspired, dive in, and get going. Oh, that's where we want to be. This balance between the realistic thinking, okay, the desire for a better future, the energy and will to act, and taking responsibility to create positive change is powerful. However, the power is released only when that hope is expressed. They talk about a book called Hope Rising by Casey Gwynne and Chan Hellman, and I like this. Hope's not just an idea. Hope's not simply an emotion. It's far more than a feeling. It's not a wish or even an expectation. Hope is about goals, willpower, and pathways. A person with high hope has goals, the motivation to pursue them, and the determination to overcome obstacles and find pathways to achieve them. It's a belief in that your future can be brighter and better than your past, and you actually have a role to play in making it better. Great. I love those quotes from Gwynne and Hellman in Hope Rising. Are you providing that for your teams? Are you giving them that hope? Transformations conversations celebrate success through storytelling. Vanessa Boris, Harvard Business Publishing, said telling stories is one of the most powerful means that leaders have to influence, teach, and inspire. You got to be able to tell stories. They suck people in, and then you give them the message within the story or right after the story. It was a huge part of my teaching for all of my teaching career, and I'm sure many of you do too. That's when your kids get riveted. That's when they get focused, and then bam, you hit them with the message either through the story or as the story finishes, you talk about what's the message there. Here's one of my favorite quotes from Maxwell. Once you have experienced significance, success will never satisfy you again. Now, I love the idea. Let's face it, though. I think he's talking about scoreboard success, monetary success, things like that. But my company is called Slam Dunk Success. Get ready for in a couple of weeks for the tweak that I'm going to be talking about in this new project where we're going to focus on significance. Oh, so good. Okay. Once you've experienced significance, success will never satisfy you again. Oh my goodness. Transformation conversations provide a supportive community. Transformation conversations activate people's potential. What is the highest goal of a transformation conversation? It's to activate the potential in others. Transformational conversations move us to make better decisions that better ourselves and others. Transformational conversations inspire what's next. They make us intentional. So they wrap up the chapter asking, are you willing to engage in transformational conversations, both as the inspirer and the inspired, as the mentor and the mentored, as the storyteller and the listener, as the team builder and the team member? Are you willing to keep talking so that everyone will keep doing? It's so good. So if you haven't already begun to connect with others and have transformational conversations, start today. Help others reach their potential. It'll make their lives richer and help both you and them to be part of a transformational movement that changes the world. That's what it's all about. Oh, this is such a great chapter. And I just touched on a variety of things, but so many great nuggets in there. I hope you liked those as much as I did. I hope you're as excited for the conclusion next week of the book, and then the following week when I'll be talking about my project that I've been working on. So come back next week, because here's chapter 9, the wrap-up chapter. It's your turn to change your world. And we'll talk about that again next week. See you then.